Okay, got it. All right, are we ready?
Born ready.
No, stop. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Nick and Justin Show. We're going on episode 10. Nick, how you doing?
Ooh, I'm doing good. We're at 10, man. We're almost halfway there,
Oh, I know, right? It's freaking awesome.
right? And for those that aren't keeping up, halfway, our goal is to just be solid at 21 episodes. So 10, ooh, making moves.
They ain't making moves. Come on.
Always, always,
All right.
always.
What you got? What are your topics?
Okay, I'm gonna just say the high level with no details, and then we could dive into them afterwards. First one, Bed Bath and Beyond lives on. Second one, the Costco crackdown. The third one, you don't belong here.
Ooh, okay. Mine, when does self-development start becoming a bad thing? My second topic is silence a luxury?
Ooh.
All right, what do you want to dig on first?
Depends on. Okay, let's just Costco crackdown. We're gonna do this.
Okay. Before you say that, I just went to Costco and I used my brother's card. But yeah, whatever. I saw that the next day. I was like, oh,
Wait, is it not implemented there already?
not yet.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, go for it. Go.
basically, Costco thinks that they're trying to become a bar. Okay. Not only do you have to show the card when you walk in, now you have to show your ID like when you're about to check out. And
Oh, I didn't do that yet. They just checked my card.
oh, wait, they just checked the
They
card
saw
to
my
see if your
card.
face matched.
Yeah, and I look like my brother, so we're all right.
It's because all Filipinos look alike.
Hey, man. Yes,
We're-
it's the nose. It's the nose.
Oh man. Okay, you know what? We should just scratch this whole part out.
No, we're not doing it. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, so what
Oh.
happened? Showed your ID. Come on, get back. Let's get back on track. Come on.
No, okay. So basically, we use my girlfriend's mom's card.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so when we first were checking out, there were like someone there, like we went to the self check line because that's how we evade all this stuff. And yeah, they asked for the card, they looked at it, and I mean, I'm gonna assume my girlfriend looks like her mother. So they gave us the green light on there. But I think it's interesting that they're actually trying to crack down on who's using whose card.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The sharing economy is kind of dying at this point. If you think about it, you're like Netflix. Share with
Netflix.
everybody. Now
Nope.
Costco. Have you ever read their actual like fine print though?
Mm-mm. I know that they really, it's only 2 authorized users, the person and have somebody else. Because I know my brother had it and it was like, hey, don't abuse this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So it's one primary user, and then what they call is one household card, which can then be assigned to like another individual. But dude, that's kind of like unrealistic. Could you imagine being a household with 2 Costco memberships?
Yeah.
It's
Like,
so repetitive.
yeah, but it's like husband and wife and that's it.
Husband, wife, and then if your kid gets too old, they're like, "Ooh, go get their own like membership because they need their own access to too
Yeah.
much like toilet paper."
Granted, I never use Costco that much at the moment because I don't have to buy like family wholesale stuff. But for small little things, very handy. Like Tupperware. That's why a reason why I went. Me and my girlfriend were like, we needed some Tupperware. We got glass containers. Like, hey, we're gonna use this. And then yes. So we both went in, we bought it for our new place, i.e. this, until we find another new place in November. I wouldn't.
Do you think their policy actually works, or do you think they should change it?
I was thinking about this. There's one of the few companies saying, okay, like I actually out of Costco, I would follow it. I would respect the fact that they keep everything at a low cost. Heck, dude, you can still buy a hot dog for $1.50 and a soda. Like with respects, and I'm pretty sure I think I should show you a diagram, but I'm pretty sure most of their profits are from memberships only just to keep everything low. So for them to, yes, it's $1 billion company, but with respects, they actually still never increase the prices for consumers to do that. It's just cracking down on what they always been having. So I do feel bad if I had to use my brother's card. It's only like a blue moon type of situation because yeah, they figure out ways to make things wholesale, bulk, cheap. Yeah. So that's my point of view. It's well, crap. I just feel guilty because the company hasn't said, oh, we're going to increase prices and increased. It's $60 for a year, man. Crap.
Hey man, $60 a year. It's $5
Well,
a month.
people spend $10 on Spotify a month. That's 120.
Okay, it costs a little bit more. Do you have a Amazon Prime account?
Yeah, I do. Whole Foods? No.
No, not Whole Foods, but do you pay for your Amazon Prime account?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't pay
Well,
for.
there's other things I don't pay for. I already exposed myself on one. I'm not exposing myself on the others.
Oh, I think I have access to every streaming platform. I don't think I pay for any of them.
One, two.
I think I'm a leech. I'm a huge leech.
I only pay for one. No, never mind. I don't pay for any.
Like if I think about it, Hulu,
Except
yes.
Spotify.
Disney, yes. Netflix, yes. HBO, yes. Amazon Prime, yes. And these are all yeses to access, but not paying.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of them might be covered by my credit cards.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm indirectly paying for those.
Only thing I would pay for would be Amazon. Only because I started realizing that, I started to pay more on like just when I moved in, I would save more money on shipping handling, which I did. But I didn't know I would also get Amazon Prime like video. So that was just like a bonus for me. And I didn't know that.
And you get Amazon Music.
Yes. So yeah,
Okay, that's it. It was more like a PSA. It's not like a super interesting topic, but
it's Costco. It's always interesting. Been so good to us though. Shingle
I just
bake,
didn't know
hot
if it's
dog.
trickled down there yet. I just don't know how I feel about it. I'm just cheap. I don't want to pay.
No, you are cheap, you freaking bastard.
When they asked for it, I was like, ah, dang. Now I always have to I can't go by myself because I don't have long hair and I'm not Filipino. So I'm just salty that I got caught. I think that's what it is.
You always have a weird thing about when you can't evade something or work around the gray areas and you get caught. You get so mad at it, but rightfully so, you should not get mad at it.
I know, $60.
And you had one before.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I know I'm not wrong. Thank you.
Okay,
All right,
let's do
what else we got?
silence luxury. What is that one?
So silence a luxury. All right. So two thought process when I was doing a little bit of research. One day I was like deriving from our miracle morning, how we kind of silence our minds and keep our thoughts at bay. Reason why, again, probably 2, 3 weeks ago, even a month ago, just a lot of input, not enough time to settle the waters. I felt like I was at a water park just splashing away, keeping everything restless, and thought, wow, like silence is a luxury. When I typed it in to do a little more research, if there's any scientific studies, I was looking up this article and it said, why do rich people love quiet? The sound of gentrification is silence. And I was like, oh crap, kind of now peering to a new lens instead of more of a personal level, it's more social economic. So why do kind of that high affluent area like silence? Hence why is silence a luxury?
When you first mentioned that, I right away thought silence, but in relation to if you're in a major city or not.
Mm-hmm.
The quick assumption is that larger cities, they just come with more noise. I remember when I was living in downtown Seattle in the South Lake Union area, the first time I heard silence in that town was the first snow day. And it was like kind of eerie how quiet it actually was. It was nice, but I didn't associate it with like gentrification or privilege. I think my general assumption was like, oh, it's snowing. And so it's like this throughout the entire town. But thinking of the article that you had mentioned, is this even one more step of, let's say, in New York City, the different neighborhoods and how loud it might be within each of those neighborhoods and how that correlates to how gentrified that area is?
Yeah, I think in the article was more of a, what was it? I think comparing Upper East Side or Manhattan. Yes, it's noisy with the hustle bustle traffic, but just overall, it's still very quiet compared to the Harlem or Brooklyn of that time.
Do you think it has something to do with density?
I think ethnicity, because Filipinos are very loud. If you think,
But do you
like,
think affluent Filipinos are quieter?
I would say no, because my dad's definitely not affluent and he's a quiet mother effer.
And so the reason why I was thinking density is when you make more money, you can afford more space. And so you have less individuals living in each, let's say, city block. rather if you have a smaller apartment, right? So let's say one of those, I don't know, in New York City, they're kind of like these like row house looking things.
Mhm.
If you're like making money, you could buy one of those whole things yourself and you have all three floors, let's say. If you can't afford that, now you might have the equivalent of three families in that one row. And then you extrapolate that across the entire block and on the other side of the street across that entire block. So in a block that has 20 units, you might only have 20 families if you're affluent. But if you can't afford one of those rows yourself, 20, it's 20 times three. So now you have 60 families in that same amount of space,
Yeah.
which even if everyone is speaking in a fair manner, there will be more sound, right? By 3x. So the result is there'll be more
It could
silence
be.
if you make more money.
Then breaking it down, how about in the sense if you are from a lower end neighborhood now into a plugging into this article, something that's affluent and you're still kind of loud. You can bump more music. You're kind of used to that like loud good time with the homies. Cause normally we're pretty loud. And some places sometimes is not always well received.
Is there a different? So the article basically was comparing how there's more silence in gentrified neighborhoods. Does an individual's demeanor also change with their socioeconomic status?
I think so, yeah.
Where I guess like how you might party changes?
Like, even right now, it just being an apartment complex in itself is annoying me. I enjoy my peace and quiet, and that I maybe not in the social economic for me, but I think maybe as I get older, I just need to just everyone need to shut the hell up.
Do you think that silence would then come with a higher price tag?
Yeah. Like you drive in the for Bay Area wise, Campbell, Los Gatos, Atherton, quiet as a freaking mouse, just freaking hear a pin drop outside the neighborhood. You
Hmm.
know, you can hear the kids play and that's like ruckus. I don't want to be that type of old person. Like I do not want to be that type of old person to say, get off my front lawn. But I also want to be like, not just like right there as an inconsiderate neighbor being super loud, you know? And I feel like we had those.
Yeah. Or it doesn't happen at a frequency that becomes annoying. So
Hmm.
if I'm like thinking of the neighborhood that I'm in, I've been here for a little bit over a year. And maybe one time, one neighbor was having a party that was loud enough to be heard throughout like the neighborhood. It didn't really bother anyone because it doesn't happen all the
Doesn't
time.
happen often.
Yeah. And all the music was off by 9 o'clock.
Because I have right
It
now a
was
neighbor who's
loud
like
karaoke.
adjacent. For me, it was like adjacent, like on the same kind of like block, but would just be bumping music at 12 a.m. And like, what is going on a Wednesday?
Oh,
Why?
okay. Let's take it back to college. Okay. Do you remember inside the dorms, there would be people just bumping music
Mm.
all the time? Whoever had the most bass basically wins. I was one of those kids freshman year.
Unfortunately, I was as well. That's why I said I don't think it's social economic. I think it was age that got me.
So it is, I was going to say it's a level of maturity, but then
Mhm.
if someone is also in their early 30s and still doing it, does that make them less mature? I wouldn't also say so. This is hard.
Yeah, right? Then you also got to think about it as an individual. I'm going to try to frame this. If you think of it as an individual, think of the people who are really quiet and like really prefer silence versus the people who are really loud or rambunctious and how they operate. I think like steady waters makes it more rash, like having that internal like lake in your mind makes decision making easier, free flowing, anything else that comes in versus with it by noise, I mean thoughts in your mind. So would that person be living in luxury? Because moments where my life is a raging river or like a perfect storm, and I'm a mess, and there's certain points where I am just calm, nothing could bother me. When I have no matter what's around me, nothing bothers me because internally it's silent.
Maybe the option of silence is a luxury. One of them, you get to choose, like you have the ability or agency to select when there isn't silence. versus in other scenarios that it's kind of imposed upon you by the others around you. And so there's that's why silence is a luxury, is because then only those that can afford to be in a scenario, in an environment where they have the ability to option in or option out.
Interesting. So, what's your take? Do you like that?
Yeah, I think the one thing I was thinking is I've never really thought about it. Is just rich neighborhoods, they're always quieter. And so I was like, it's just the way it is. Like, it is what it is, but I've never tried to dissect why that.
No, when I first started thinking of this question, it was mainly just personal. Like, how is someone so calm, even though the waters are raging around and stuff like that? But when I saw this article, it had a different spin and a different lens of things. I was like, wow, am I then at that point, and me myself, like rich in that sense that I can do this as an individual standpoint, which is, oh wow, which will probably maybe not a lot of people can do often. No, it's an interesting thought. You could everyone could just put that little nugget in their head and see how that festers in. But yeah, it's not a who's right or who's wrong, but just an interesting fact.
It is. It definitely makes me think.
I feel like pivoting to this now internal like debate of silence is a luxury for individuals. It is a luxury, and it's demons that took us a while to face ourselves because we had to spend kind of in our thoughts and minds of fears that we could not name for a very long time until we named it and started attacking said fears or demons, whatever you want to label it as, that we're lightweight scared to confront.
Yeah, because when you start meditating for the first time or
It's
sitting,
stressful, actually.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's why like you sit there for 30 seconds and you don't have the patience, or your mind starts to run, and then you just don't want to think about certain things, or it kind of builds upon itself the longer that you sit there. And then, yeah, eventually you're able to train it like a muscle to where you can sit for 15 minutes and then chaos can literally be around you, noise everywhere, and you're able to silence your mind.
Yeah. I think you sent me a text earlier this week. It was another check mark done. And then I responded, I have too many check marks to do. Too many checks, like too many boxes to check. And then you said that's how stress develops. And that's probably what maybe someone who has not tried to train that muscle, trying to train it is the scariest part.
Absolutely. Mastering the mind is a whole nother beast, right? There's mastering your body, working out, being active,
Mhm.
eating well, and then mastering your mind is the other part of it.
Yeah. Food for thought. So we can pivot to a new subject. What you got, if you want to, unless you want to close it and want to keep it open. What's up?
Let's bounce to the next one.
All right, let's go. Go ahead.
Bed Bath and Beyond. So here's the context to it.
Okay, please.
So back in April 2023,
Mm-hmm.
Bed Bath and Beyond officially said that they're going to go bankrupt. What basically goes through bankrupt court, right? They have to go through all the assets, sell things off. There's bidding processes, all of that kind of stuff. And so this is a little bit in a way kind of like Toys R Us went away, but Toys R Us is still around somehow. Then
R.I.P. Man.
no one really wanted to let it go. So at the end of this month, June 2023, the first kind of round of bidding completed. Overstock.com purchased their name, branding, and assets for $21.5 million. But what they didn't take were things like their retail locations and their inventory. Their CEO announced that they're going to rebrand Overstock.com to Bed Bath & Beyond. So Bed Bath & Beyond lives online, but will still live. And I think that this is going to cause a ton of confusion if someone goes online thinking that I mean, I'm sure there's people that totally missed the boat that Bed Bath & Beyond went out of business. And now there's going to be a different company cloaked as Bed Bath & Beyond,
Bed Bath Beyond.
but just online. But it's actually Overstock.com.
Goodness. Hold on, let me pull up your article.
When was the last time you even went on Overstock.com, dude?
I did. I thought they closed.
No, they're alive and kicking.
Are they keeping the same branding and everything?
They're going to keep the Bed Bath & Beyond branding.
The fuck?
Yeah, it's just shuffling the brand around. So, I mean, I'm on
Uh,
overstock.com right now. It basically looks like Wayfair. So, for those that don't know, that there was this shuffle around for the Bed Bath and Beyond brand, when they go to Bed Bath and Beyond, whenever it kicks over to overstock.com, it's going to look and feel like you're on wayfair.com.
mm,
And so, for the assets that overstock.com didn't take, which is their retail locations, at the time of bankruptcy, there was 468 different locations that Bed Bath and Beyond had. The first round basically bidded off the first 110, roughly. 50 of them went to Burlington Coat Factory. I haven't been in a Burlington Coat Factory in 15 years.
I didn't know that thing was still even existed.
Yeah, I had zero idea. And when that was announced, the CEO of Burlington made a statement that said, "We have a very strong real estate team that has a lot of experience dealing with retail bankruptcies. Many of our current success and productive stores today were once Circuit Cities, Toys R Us, Sports Authority, Linen and Things, and a bunch of other ones that they rattled off." But when you like think of all those brands, you're like, oh, ROP or RIP to all of those. And Burlington came in, swooped on them in bankruptcy court, basically getting them on a discount, and then opened up shop in those locations. And this past quarter, they said that they're going to actually open up 70 to 80 new locations. So this is going to be playing into their overall strategy of opening up new locations.
On the discount. What a strategy.
Wild strategy. Basically, they're like, someone messed up. I'm taking the fire sale and I'm going to use that to my advantage.
And then it's, I need a new brand. I'm going to take your brand because you already got a strong brand. They also already have the online setup to do that.
Yeah. So two things came out of this. One, overstock.com is going to be the new Bed Bath and Beyond. And then Burlington Coat Factory, expect to see some opening up in the old location stores of Bed Bath and Beyond near you.
All right. Damn, that's so interesting. Just buying literally just Mike Myers and just monster to be dealing with right now. It's kind of crazy.
It shows the power of a brand.
Mm-hmm. They didn't what? It's one of those things that just didn't catch up with the times, like fries.
Yeah, they just kind of evolve.
They just didn't evolve fast enough, or just missed the boat and try to kind of hang on. And then when they did transition, they became a small fish again in a new type of environment.
I mean, I don't know
So
if
I
you've
miss.
have you been to a Bed Bath and Beyond in the past 3 years? Those things are, their products suck. Like when you walk inside there, it just feels sterile. I only went there because I got like a 20% off coupon. That was about it.
They didn't do a good job at making it feel welcoming. It felt very, again, sterile, just walk through. It felt like a crappy version of IKEA
Yeah.
last time I went.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what is a good retail experience of a competitor, Bed Bath and Beyond. And maybe IKEA is the only thing that can be similar at within that niche, right?
Mm-hmm. Dang. All right.
So tell me,
Topic.
self-development becoming a bad thing? Tee it up.
When does self-development start becoming a bad thing? Ooh, this one got me. Only because you and I learn very differently. And this is when it was like, oh, I think we have very different ideologies about this. There's a negative return of investment when you kind of overly indulge in self-development. My thought is that if you overly learn but don't apply, all that stuff you learn is just wasted potential. Do you agree or not?
I totally agree.
What you and I differ is because you say I will learn it regardless to have it memorized in my toolbox versus me saying I'll learn it as I go so it becomes pertinent. So we have two different ideologies, correct?
Yeah, I consume a lot of random stuff.
Yes. Like I still listen freaking to a podcast, like one or two a week, just on a subject matter that I really want to learn and deep dive and understand it, learn it. And you just consume it at 2x speed and probably have 5 podcasts or anything else. So you consume way faster than I do. But for you, you can retain it as a toolbox versus me, I have to learn as I'm doing it because I won't retain it.
When you were in high school, did you ever have to learn how to speed read?
I'll be completely honest with you. Yes, but I did not want to do it because I could not read out loud very well. And now I'm here. Yeah. I'm gonna put that publicly.
So with a lot of YouTube or audiobooks, going through it at 2x speed is very similar to speed reading a book, where you're looking just for the key core concepts, but you're not going very deep. If I think for you, you go a lot deeper than I do for each of them. So there are things that we discuss where you get into the nitty gritty details of things. And I sometimes completely forget that that was even in there.
Yeah, there was one topic of podcast. Did you catch this? Is awesome. No, I didn't.
Yeah, completely missed it. I was like, no, I think I got the header of what they were trying to say, but not the examples.
So before we even go forward on this, what are your thoughts on how people can use this as a bad, how is self-development a bad thing for people if they don't realize, like before they realize it's too late type of thing?
When I know individuals that have read a lot of the self-help books, but they don't take or put any of it into practice, that I think they're wasting their time, right? Reading The Art of Not Giving an F,
You
but
can say
still,
it's okay. There you go. I said it. It's not safe for kids. You can say it.
but not an individual that then still cares about every single detail or things that they can't control. They didn't take the lesson out of the book, especially if you hear them quoting the book, then you're just like questioning
What's going
what
on?
did they get from the book at all. And I think that happens time and time again. There's a few books that are a little bit more foundational for me. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 4 Hour Work Week, E-Myth.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. For me.
Those are books that you can keep coming back to and you pull from and sometimes become a little bit more foundational. So
I gotta go back to 4 Hour Work Week, by the way. Crap. I stopped that now. It's starting to become very pertinent to me. Hey, crap, I gotta revisit some things.
that was my first book that started all of this stuff.
Mine was The Minimalist.
Okay, here's
Sorry,
devil's
cut you
advocate.
off.
Here's devil's advocate. What if you read self-help books the same way you would read a sci-fi book?
I think at a certain point I was like that. Like I didn't read any fiction or anything. Like only thing I was reading was that, and that's when I started also realizing, am I implementing things that I'm learning? And that's how I kind of thought up with that wasted potential kind of concept. Is that I just indulge it like it was a story time, which wasn't. It should have been a active practice type of book. And if it didn't resonate you to change, then it shouldn't been. It should have been stopped like halfway through already.
But is there anything wrong with reading it like a sci-fi book where you don't need to practice anything with it? Like people spend time and effort reading sci-fi, history, crime, all of that stuff, but there's nothing that they're taking into practice.
Feel like when those books are in a play, like the sci-fi books, those are escapisms or just trying to just learn history. Take it maybe as your approach, probably listen to it and put it in a toolbox, but at a certain point, if you don't use it, you lose it. So how much memory, how much you're going to retain if you don't put any into practice anyway to begin with. And so that's how I see it. I see those type of books of an autobiography or a sci-fi book as an escape versus when it comes to self-help, I'm picking up a tool.
I know I'm totally contradicting myself. I'm totally playing devil's advocate here.
You're fine. Do it. I love it.
Do you think someone could get escapism by reading something like The Art of Not Giving a Fuck? They're someone that inherently cares about too much. And by reading that story, it gives them that brief moment of being able to release.
If they can. Crap, that's a good point. It's kind of filling the ideology of probably the perception of what they can be.
Or if you're reading Grant Cardone's 10X book.
Oh, don't feel like you love that book. Don't pretend.
I love that book. But what if there's an escapism piece of, there's two ways to take it. One person takes it and they go apply it by making bigger goals, taking bigger action. The second one is you're reading the book and you can get lost in just how big he's thinking and of these goals and of these things that you may not either A, feel like you have the capabilities of taking that action, but you could get lost in just the story and journey and belief of such a big, grand vision.
That sounds like an asshole, but that just sounds like a waste of time.
I mean, so is watching Marvel movies.
You can respectfully fuck off. How dare you?
It was too easy. It was too easy.
How dare you? And to be quite honest, I haven't been watching a lot of Marvel movies anyway because that shit's pumping out too much. And So now it's just becoming kind of boring. Super Mario Bros. Though, haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it yet, watch it. Awesome, great little family flick.
I think in the same way, okay, thinking about it now that we've actually talked about it, because obviously my initial reaction was people are wasting their time on it. I think in the same way someone could get hooked on sci-fi, they could equally be hooked on self-development without needing to take action on it.
Yeah, damn. To me, sounds. I don't know. Sounds. Why are we doing this?
Oh, I don't agree with it, but I think that there is the ability for an individual to pull dopamine from those books in a similar way.
I think we talked about it before. Just reiterate, as a collective, we actually have talked about this too. That both, what is it, and how do you identify the piece of a how, and how do you apply it? So, if we can refer back to this episode. We can refer back to the other episode, but I think it's kind of weird that we're so far in that we can say we can refer to this previous episode. Just a weird thought. Just saying. Link below on this segment of how do you apply knowledge when it comes to. So check that out if you want to hear our thoughts about it. So you don't have to redundantly say it. But yes, that's kind of a weird thing to say that we did so many of these.
Any other
You know,
thoughts?
I don't know. I just found it so silly because also the perception of self help books too. I was in my office with two coworkers and they were laughing at one of these guys saying, "Oh, he was reading How to Win Friends and Influence People." Perception now of that book, it feels like they thought it was an influencer book of like social media
Hmm.
instead of what it was. And they started busting out laughing. And I just looked up and saying, I actually read that book like 3 times. And it's probably one of the best books I ever read. And they looked at me like, "Oh, snap, I offended you." But
Did they even read the book?
No, they did. They assumed like it was an influencer, how to be an influencer type of thing, but not saying how to not manage people, but be more having a higher level of EQ. Then, do you think how the perception of do you think self help books is silly, or how do you think that perception has changed over these last few years when you see everything on social media becoming self help? Do you think now that category has a little bit of disdain?
Yeah, I think it's become a little bit saturated. And the category has gotten pretty broad of what's being captured into it. It's hard to judge an individual for reading a book without ever reading the book. And this goes for like any book across the board. There could be things you've heard about it, or maybe you can pull from a title like The Anarchist Cookbook or The Game. But
Great book. I haven't read it, heard about it. It's great.
those are things that you need to have some context before even judging someone for it. There's a lot of social media stuff, whether it's TikTokers or whatever, that make that kind of content. But I think it's because it's what resonates with a lot of people. Is it correct or right? Everyone has their own opinion.
I have a good book that people think might be sounding weird, but I very literally judging the book by its cover.
Such as,
Artist Seduction by Robert Greene. I saw so many people that I was looking at my phone and they saw that book on my Audible and they're like, "Why are you reading that? Like, why?" I'm like, "It's a good book." It's another EQ type of book saying how analyzing yourself on what kind of, unfortunately, the adjective was seductive, but that can mean on how to befriend somebody. Are you a charmer? How do you play your personality? And it's a good self-identifying type of profile.
similar to his
But
book,
again,
48 Laws of Power.
so many. So if you haven't read the book or even open-minded to say why that book, then that's on the other individual judging.
It also comes back to those who believe in EQ versus IQ. It comes down to just being aware of yourself, what you're doing, how it impacts those around you. In leadership styles, there's those that come into a group, they want people to change how they act in order to interact with them, which is harder, especially when you're working with a group of 5 people. You need 5 people to change how they're acting to work with you. Or if you have the ability to change yourself and
Adapt
mold,
to each person.
it's way faster, quicker, everything like that. And that's part of being able to read people, being able to understand how or what motivates them. All of those things is what you basically get out of those books that may have suggestive titles.
Fair point. You want to close out, or do you want to do a recap? No, maybe.
Let's do one more topic.
Nick, what do we got?
The topic of this one is you don't belong here. And here's the context. So this past week, I got laid off, which means I'm in that zone of refreshing my resume, figuring out what kind of job I want for my next steps, and just taking some time to reflect. One of the areas that I've always been interested in is on the investing side of startups. I've been on the operation side of them, both trying to start them, being a part of early teams, some of them that have grown pretty quick, some of them that have taken a little bit longer.
Can I pause you real quick though?
Yes.
How is this layoff different than the other past ones then? Because as of right now, you already had a game plan kind of formulated. So again, when that initial when initial word said you're laid off, how do you feel from this time than the ones before? Because it sounds different than you freaking out.
Yeah. Didn't freak out because I've been through it before. I definitely had a rant on LinkedIn about what my thoughts were on it. I think when people get their first layoff, there's this association of the layoff being correlated to the value or their competence in their skill set. A lot of times that's not the case. There's just business reasons that you didn't make the cut, and that's about it. You can still be an all-star. And if you're plugged in enough to the business, you can kind of see it coming. And so if you see it coming and you know it's coming and you have financially prepared yourself, you have a decent amount of runway to take some time, accept it, recalibrate, execute. And so I think for me, I needed 3 or 4 days to calibrate everything. And now I'm just back on the search for what I want to do next.
So let's resume on what you're doing right now.
So as I was looking into the investing side of the house or venture capital side of the house, when you're looking at all these different funds, there's statistically a background that they're looking for. And as I was starting to dive in through what some of these statistics were, I think it opened up a larger question of me reflecting on just my general path of what I've done in my career so far. So here's a little bit of background just on the VC side. There was a Techstars. Techstars is like an incubator or accelerator program for startups. They had an article that was highlighting diversity in venture. And one of the stats that they highlighted was that 90% of all venture capitalist partners either went to Stanford University or Harvard University. Statistically, right? They went to those 2 universities. So that means, okay, great. Statistically, I have a 10% chance. But then when you take one step further of thinking of what did it take to even get into that school, to have that opportunity to even begin with, it looks back at, okay, well, what's the attrition rate going into a school like that or getting into college in general? And I was able to find a study by it's called the School and Student Services, that in 2018 and 2019, that school year, 64% of private school graduates actually went to a 4-year college afterwards. A public school student only had 44% chance of actually going to a 4-year college. So the difference in access between a private and public school changes your percentage of going to college by 20%, which could then matriculate into potentially getting to a higher college, which then can open the door for other career opportunities afterwards. And so one of the things that got me going was thinking of this question: what are things that we have done, or have you been in a situation that's similar to where you were able to get a job where traditionally you probably should not have been there?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Well, it wasn't the current job right now. At the level I'm at, it was you needed a master's and a bachelor's. I don't have a bachelor's. So it's back at the alma mater, but it was still just needed 2 kind of degrees to be where I'm at. So technically I should not be where I'm at.
What made you different in order to break that mold to get there?
Honestly, it was my network. Still did a good job. They remembered me. And back to the networking opportunity was that my future supervisor was someone who saw my work ethic and saw who I was as a person and who I was. So that just helped me out. It's very slim. Heck, I might run the story or not. My coworker who just got hired on straight up said, "How'd you get this job without having a master's?" Straight up. And I was like, I'm going to really, really be angry right now. But to a certain point, yeah, I should not be there. And I think what made me that difference was at least gave me the opportunity of that network to get me in the door. But again, it was the what I did when I got through the door that's helped me stay.
So
But
part of it
I
was creating the opportunity. The second part was earning the right to stay.
correct. So I
And
think every day though, it's like valuable. It's like more every day for me.
when I reflect on my career, there's two scenarios where I didn't fit the statistical mold. So the first one, going to San Jose State University and working within Deloitte's consulting, advisory consulting branch. The division that I was working with, the majority of individuals were from UC's or Cal Poly SLO, maybe Santa Clara University. I was the only San Jose State University student there. And when I looked at where other San Jose State University students were being hired for, it was like in their audit or tax practice. So then it made me think of, okay, how did I get that opportunity? And a lot of it was like Deloitte didn't come to San Jose State University to hire. I had to be the one that did the outbound outreach, apply, try to, hey, look at me, check out my resume kind of thing. Similar to when I was going to Clubhouse. The Clubhouse opportunity came because I was willing to reach out to early team members, send cold emails. There was no network that was built there before. But when I got there and started to realize the statistical background of the people that they were hiring, they were looking for individuals that either had a background at a college like Stanford or from one of the FANG big tech companies. Basically, if you didn't meet that one of those two criterias, you had very, very little chance of getting in the door. And again, I kind of went back to needing to do the outbound, being creative in how you outreach to individuals, creating the opportunity for yourself rather than the opportunity coming to you. And so before I started this dive, it was all started because I was thinking about getting into the VC world and reflecting on what will be that game plan of that outbound that's going to be required for me to even get a shot to be looked at potentially for one of these roles.
So what would you try to figure out now to not finesse, but maneuver to be that 10%?
I mean, some of the stuff that I'm doing right now is like revising my website, putting case studies out there of all the work that I've done, having really thoughtful perspectives on what happened, maybe potentially why it happened, or what some of the learning or like key takeaways were from those experiences, and using those as areas to pad just a simple resume or cover letter. Right? It's when I'm thinking of levels of applying, you can apply on a generic application. You send in your resume and a cover letter. Maybe you fill out some of the open-ended questions. And then the next level is like actually having work that supports it, that can provide more context to people and hopefully pique their interest in checking that out. Where now, when being compared to other individuals that just might only have a resume from a statistical, background that they're looking at, mine might stand out just a little bit more because I had gone above and beyond to creating the material that was required to give assurance that they should give me a shot.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hearing about that is just always a stepping stone. We don't never know what we're doing or building. You think it's silly, but then building it, maybe failing, for sure failing. You're like, holy crud. You can look back and I built this for a little bit. That's so freaking cool. It was even before this, we were just talking. Oh yeah, I built that. I forgot I built this. So even though you failed or not, or it's better than not starting at all, and then giving yourself an opportunity that, hey, I can still be willing to, regardless of failing, I can still put something on I could still tie up my boots and still get to work. Because at the end of the day, those failures did not define you. It was more, let's pick up the lunch pail again, and get back. So that's pretty cool.
So that was that's also an update with where I'm at in my career path as well. Is on the search, was laid off, going through it right now, and we'll see in a
After
couple of
we talk about
weeks. Yeah,
I thought we talked about being laid off on the previous podcast.
definitely caught up to me. That's for sure. But
No,
I'm
I
taking
love
my
that
own
though.
advice from that video of
No,
what is
I'm pretty
required
sure I
to
said
stand
it.
out.
Let's refer to that. Let's see if it works. Let's set.
Yeah, I mean, we
You
could
can
put the little
set this
card up in the corner, in one of these corners.
somewhere.
Yeah, I have no idea where this is gonna actually like record, but it'll be up in the
Me
corner.
neither.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the end of that topic. So for anyone that has joined us for this long, thank you for diving through with us from everything from Bed Bath and Beyond, Survives,
Silence.
Silence, and the virtues that come with that, to my update with my career and lack thereof a job. This is episode 10. See you in the next one.